Hi, everyone. Welcome in this webinar. I think we can go on with the topic of today. So just to remind everyone what would be the topic, we will talk about the text analysis. So as you might know, we launched maybe like 2 or 3 weeks ago a new text analysis page, which is kind of working the same as before, but now has new layers, I would say. So the goal of today would be to show you exactly how you can use this page to fully get the value from Figure, especially on the text analysis. And basically, I will just explain how you can analyze all your feedback, categorize them in topics and segments, and then show you how we can create an action. Okay, so the account I'm showing you is a fake account. Obviously, we are using the data only for the webinar. So when you're connecting into Figure, you should see the dashboard first. So that's what I'm showing right now, but that's not the goal of this presentation. So let's go directly into the text analysis. Okay, so when you arrive on this page, as you can see, there are a lot of information. So let's go step by step to explain to you what it is and how you can use them. So first of all, and before even going into the detail of everything, just to remind you what this page is about and why you have to use it. So basically, the text analysis, so this page I'm showing right now, the goal of this page is for you to track and categorize all of your verbatims. So as you know, in Figure, you will have a lot of different data because the first step of setting up your account on Figure is to centralize all the feedback you get on your either client satisfaction, or it could be internal satisfaction, whatever use case you have. So once you centralize everything, you will get all of this data into this page. So the goal is to use the segments and the topic to create a kind of categorization. And the goal of that is to generate summarization, to generate basically action plans, and to have graphs that will help you track maybe the average sentiment, to help you understand if you have maybe more and more verbatims that will be linked to a topic, or on the contrary, to have less verbatim, which would means that basically you're improving. So really the goal of this page is to have an overview of everything that's happening on your client satisfaction, and you will use it in a way that will help you understand what are your what advantage you have, and maybe what are your like maybe the topics you need to maybe improve and get action on. So that's really the goal of this page, is really for you to understand where you need to take action, which team we need to take the action, and which type of clients is asking you to take the action if I go through with this. So um, let's begin. So basically, once you're here, you will see a few things. So first, we talked about all the data you have into the platform. So if you want to focus on only a certain type of data, then you will use the global filters. So right here, and you might actually already know what it is because you can find the global filters everywhere in the platform. You can basically use it to only focus on a certain type of data, or to focus, for example, on a certain period of time. It could be also a filter on the attributes. If, for example, you want to focus on a specific type of clients. So basically anything that is existing into Figure as a filter, you can use it on this page to focus on this data. So for now, I will not use it because I still want to have the full picture. But at least know that if you add a filter, then you will see this page evolve, because we will only show the verbatims that are linked to this filter. So that's the first thing. Then you will see right under it the number of untagged verbatims. So this basically means that you still have 1,600 untagged verbatims, which means that these verbatims don't have any topic in it. So in a way, it helps you understand. So first, that maybe there are some topics missing. And if you want to dig into that, you can use the suggestion of new topic here by clicking on it. And that's where the platform will suggest you new topics only based on this untagged verbatim. So the goal at the end would be to have a page that covers most of the topics that are mentioned in your verbatims, basically. And you will never have everything covered. So the goal would be to have most of it. And at the end, if you still have new feedbacks and maybe new topics coming up, that's where Feedier will help you identify the low signals. So basically, that's maybe not your main topics, but it will still be important for you to identify them, because sometimes it could be only 3, 10, 100 clients, depending on how many you have in your business, talking about it. So it could be considered as a few of them. But if you identify them from the beginning, then you can take action really quickly, and it will help you make sure that it doesn't grow and it doesn't become like a big issue that will have a big impact on your business. So that's the first way to do it. So let's say if you're working with your CSM, for example, on this page, because as you know, and I actually didn't say it, but I am myself a CSM, and I am helping my clients build this page to make sure that it is helping them in understanding their client satisfaction and have an impact on their business. Um, so let's say you've built most of your topics and segments. Then if tomorrow another time you're connect to Feedier and then you go on this page, that's where you will find the low signals, because you will have less and less untagged verbatims. So the one that will be untagged will be the one that are not covered, which means there are low signals. So that's the first thing. So now I can maybe show you quickly how you can add these topics into your page. So let's say you suggested the new topics, and the platform is suggesting a few of them. So the one I'm showing right now, and let's say that you want to add electronics durability. Then you can click on it. If a segment is already existing, and that's where I will explain what a segment is, you can select it right here. So maybe I will just explain quickly what is a segment before going into the topic creation. So as you can see here, you will see two things. You have what is called product, checkout experience, staff, app, etc. These are segments. So the goal of these segments is to have a first layer of analysis. So as you can see right under it, you will have a few KPIs that you can track. These KPIs, they are on the segment level. And inside these segments, you will find the topics. So the topics are actually the topics you already know. So we didn't change that. So a topic would be product, vitamins, pricing, checkout experience, and everything that you will see inside the segments. And so basically the KPIs on the segment level, they are matching the topics you added on the segments. So to make sure it's clear, the segments are created manually. So it will be you choosing which category of topics, we could say it like that, you want to create. And this will depend 100% to your business and your use case. So it's really your call to know what you want to analyze on this level of analysis. And so you will create them manually, and then you will choose which topics you put inside. So this segment notion is really something that you will create and that you will build over time. So you can begin with something. I mean, we have 5 segments, and then at some point, if you're adding new topics, you will maybe realize that there is one segment missing. And so you can still add it later. It's not an issue. So the goal is just to have segments that make sense for you over time. So as you can see, you have a create segment button here. So if you click on it, you can add the name. And just to be clear, the name doesn't have any impact on the segment itself. It's really for you to understand what it is about. So it could be product quality, for example. Then the type will be topic. You could also add an honor emails, but this is a bit more specific. So let's not talk about that for now, but know that you can. And you can also add a description. So the description, again, will not have any impact on the segment itself, but it's helping maybe your teams and other users understand what is this segment about. And once you've done it, this first step, you will go on the second one. And that's where you can choose which topics you want to add in it. You can add as many as you want. And also know that you can add one topics into multiple segments. So that's not an issue, and it will not duplicate the verbatims and the analysis, but it will help you maybe add it just in different segments. Let's say you have like two segments that are quite similar but have like specification, then it could be useful to have it in both of them. So you can select the topics. I will pick whatever I want. It's really just for you to understand how it's working. So I will update it, and then you will go to third step. Here, I will leave it to current team. You will go next. Who can edit? By default, it's going to be admin only because we don't want users to edit them. We think that it's mainly for the project lead on your side to update them if needed. And then you can create. Once the segment is created, you will have it in this list, maybe at the end or at the beginning. And actually, the order of the segments depend on the KPI you will choose here. By default, it's going to be by number of verbatim. So we will tell you that the product segment is the segment where you will find the higher number of verbatims. So here you will find it. So as you can see, it's 8,000 here, and then it's going to be 1,000 in each one of the others. But if you change it and you choose sentiment score, then the sorting would change, and it's going to be by sentiment. So by default, it's going to be by the main positive. So let's say the most positive segment of all of them. But if you change it here, then it's going to be the most negative. So the idea with that page and this segment organization is for you to identify really quickly where is the issue, or maybe where is the unsatisfaction, and understand maybe where you need to dig up to take action. Again, that's the end goal, is really to understand where you need to take action to improve your satisfaction. So here, we've talked about the segment. The last thing I can tell you about that is that by default, you can have topics that were not added in any segments. You will find them here. And that's why you have an ungroup topics. It's a segment by default that the platform will have as long as you have ungrouped topics. So let's say you have these ones and you want to add food in a segment. It gets a bit tricky and you need to know where to add it. Let's say you want to add it in product. So to add your food topics, in product, you need to go into the segment. So you will click on it. You will click on edit here, go on the second step, and that's where you can add your food topic here. So you can update, go next, and then it's going to be added by default on the segment. Oh, it was not. So here, and then you just go through with the steps exactly if you were creating a segment, and then confirm, and you will find a new topic here. If you want to delete one topic from the segment, it's working exactly the same way. So you can just go into the segment and then edit it. Let's say you want to edit a topic, or you want to delete a topic, for example, you will be able to do it on this tab, because as you can see, we have 3 tabs here. So the discovery one is the one you're seeing right now, but then you have the topics and verbatims one. So I will go into it right after. So before that, let's go back to the topic creation. So topic creation, you can either add a new topic like we did before by clicking on suggestion, but you can also add a topic manually. So in terms of what I recommend as a CSM, if you're new to this page and you maybe have tried some topics and you have some things, but it's not really complete and you cannot really use it for now and don't understand how to use it, my first advice would be to begin by creating segments and topics that make sense in your use case. So most of the time when we begin to work with clients or when we begin to work with clients on this page, the first thing we can ask is, do you already have some topics that you cover right now? Because most of the time you do, especially if you're working in a CX team, there are always topics that are already covered, that are maybe not analyzed, but they are already targeted and known by the teams. So in that case, you can begin by creating manually these topics. To do so, you just have to click here, and then you will enter a name. So it's different from the segment because the name will have an impact on how the topic and the verbatims will be analyzed and grouped together. So first use case is you want topics that cover everything, either satisfaction and unsatisfaction. In that case, I recommend you to be as neutral as possible. So again, I will take the same example. If you have product quality quality is really great because it's neutral. You don't really have a sentiment suggestion is the name. So that's great. It could be maybe phone service, support, whatever you have in mind that is neutral. It's a good name for a topic. But that's for the first use case. If you do that, in the verbatims that would be grouped on this topic, you will find good sentiment and bad sentiment. So it's a good way to cover everything. And in this use case, the goal is to track over time how many positive verbatims you have and how many negative you have, because the goal is to know if at the end, and if you took action, for example, this summer, you want to know in a few months if you have maybe an average sentiment that is higher, which means that you have more happier clients and maybe less unhappy clients. So that's the first use case. Second one is you want to focus mainly on the unsatisfied topics. And then that's where you can already use maybe a sentiment suggestion in the name. And what I mean by that is having maybe problems of product quality. If I take the same example, I think it's a really good example, but it could be anything. But the point is to have a word in it that will already suggest that we want negative comments attached to the topic. So that's a use case, not necessarily the one I would recommend, but I know it's sometimes use case for clients. So you can definitely use it this way. But I just think that as a CSM, and because I work with many clients, that it's also good to know what are our strengths. And the only way to know that is to have topics that cover everything. And also know that you have the filters. So if you want at some point to filter only on the negative comments, you can definitely have topics that will be general and then just use the filters to focus on the negative. So if you do that, it's easier to kind of navigate between the data later on because you will have the choice. So I think it's clear enough. I hope so, at least for the name. So let's say we keep product quality, then you can add the segment. So we have a segment product quality, which doesn't really make sense, honestly. We could have a segment that is product, and then inside we could have product quality. You could be even more detailed. It's not the use case on this account, but let's say you have you're the sales director of a shoe company, let's say whatever. Then you could have maybe quality of each part of the shoes, or maybe have product quality or like trainers quality, and then have boots quality, whatever you have as a product or as a use case. And that's how you can have the first layer of analysis with the segment, which would cover the quality like as a whole. And then you can go into the detail with each topics you have that would cover maybe something more specific. And the goal is for you to choose what you want and what you need to analyze. And in most cases, you need both. So that's how, and that's basically why we added this segment layer, is for you to have a choice of what you need to cover in your analysis. So here you added the name, you added the segments, and now we have the instructions. So this is something that generated a lot of questions in the past, because it's kind of hard to know what kind of instructions you need to add and how you need to phrase them. So we've added now a second step in this topic creation that will help you build the right instructions. So what I mean by that is, first option, actually you don't need instructions because your topic is clear enough and the name is exactly what you need to have as a comment on it. It could be the case, for example, if you have like, I don't know, support by email, you don't necessarily need to add instructions. But when we talk about product quality, it could mean a lot of things, especially if you have a lot of products. So that's where you could add an instruction to guide the AI and the LLM to tell them that you want to only add this type of comments. So you have an example here that is saying only match this topic if it is surprising to hear from our clients. That's an example of instruction. If we stay on the product quality comments, on the product quality topic, we could add, for example, only match this topic if you want the product quality of this type of product. That could be an instruction. And so once you've added or not an instruction, you can go on to the second step. And right before that, as you can see, you have the preview related verbatims here. You can choose to toggle or untoggle, and the goal for that is to have the second step or not. So if you don't, it means that your topic, you think it's clear enough and that you don't need to have any more specification on it. It could be the case, but in most cases, I think I would recommend for you to try and go on the second step, because it can help the LLM build the right instruction to make sure it's understood and clear enough for the AI. So in that case, let me show you what it is exactly. So if you go on the second step, you will click here and you will see that it's going to run some analysis. And the goal of this step is to show you 20 random verbatims. And the goal of doing that is for you to accept or not each verbatim. And this will help the AI understand what you want exactly. And you will see that on step 3, it's going to recommend maybe a new instruction that will be based on the one you added, but improved with what you accepted or not. Just also note that this error can occur and it's fine. Sometimes it's just a matter of volume. If you see that, you can go to the previous step, you untoggle, and then you can go on the next step and we go directly to step 3. And here, as you can see, you have the suggested instructions. So we didn't put any at first. So it generated an instruction based on the name of the topic. So as you can see, it's saying tag feedback about product quality, including durability, material defects, etc., etc. I will always recommend you to double check, just because sometimes it will add something that you don't want. So don't hesitate to edit it after, even if it's the AI suggesting it. Maybe just remove or add something, but you don't really need to rephrase them, if that makes sense. So let's say you're happy with that. Then you can just click on save and the topic will be added directly into the segment. If you didn't add a segment, because the segment maybe doesn't exist yet, then you will find it in ungroup topic. And here is a small tip. You need to have at least one topic to create a segment. So if you do that, it's good to create the first topic first, and then you can add your segment and add the topic in it. Okay, so now we've seen how to create topics and segments. So I will just show you quickly what all these two tabs about. So as you can see, you have the topics one. We've mentioned it a bit earlier. So if you go and check here, you will have the list of topics, and we removed the segments. So the goal with that is for you to have the list sorted by, again, the KPI you want between the three that are suggested. And to remove this segment, because it's good to have segments and categorization, but if you want to have an overview of everything, it's also good to know which topic is the most. So here, the bigger one, so where you have the more verbatims on it, or maybe just know which one has the best sentiment score or the worst one. That's also a tab that will help you deal with your topic. So as you can see, you can check if there is an restriction or not. And if you want to edit it, that's what I was saying earlier, you can edit it here, and then you can add an restriction if you need. You can also open detail view, and I will show you quickly, but I will go back to the tab and go into the details of that a bit after. So let's go back. So you have the topics page and you have the verbatims page. And this one will be important for one reason. I mean, maybe two reasons. First of all, that's the only page in the platform where you can look for a verbatims. Because as you know, on the feedback live feed, you can look for feedback, but you cannot look for a comment. So if you're looking for a specific comment, you can use this page for that. The second goal and the second use of this page is for you to maybe double check. Let's say you have a topic in mind that's maybe not added onto the platform and you want to see if there are maybe people mentioning something or something specific you want to check, then you can use this page for that because you have the search bar. So it's really good. Also, if you want to make sure that your topics are covering all the verbatims that you need on this topic. And if not, and you see that there is a topic missing on one verbatim, then you can add it here and you just click there and then you select one or many topics. And that leads me to something you also need to know. By default, the AI, as you know, and the LLM will never be 100% exact. And that's normal because you also need to guide them to the right direction. To do that, we have a way to help, again, I will repeat myself, but to help the AI understand better what you want. And there are two ways of helping the AI with that. First one is, and it's actually the same logic. First one will be to add topics on verbatim if it's missing. Any manual action you will have on the verbatims and on the topics, the platform will identify them and then they will suggest a new instruction that's based on these manual actions. So let's take an example. Let's say you have poor quality food products not worth the price, and you know you have a food quality topic or just a food topic, and we have one here. So it's a recent verbatim, so you can add it manually. So maybe in your instructions, you didn't mention that you wanted to include the food quality, sorry, into the topic. So because you added manually this verbatim, now the platform will know it. So maybe one action is not enough. So I would recommend to do it on a few verbatims. And then we have agents, so recommendation on the platform. And every Monday you will receive topics recommendation. So based on untagged topics, untagged verbatims, but you will also receive a recommendation of new instructions. And that's really where you will improve your topics over time to make sure they are covering exactly what you want and what you need. So it takes a little bit of work, but we always recommend to always have a bit of human interaction with the platform, just because the AI will never understand 100% your use case and your context. So that's by doing what I said, that you can add this context, and that's how we will increase the accuracy of each topics. And talking about that, if I go back to the topics page, you have a precision score here, and it is matching exactly what I just said, which means that by default, it's going to be 100% if you didn't do any manual actions on these topics. But if you do, let's say next week, you're working on that. So you will do a lot of manual actions and add a lot of verbatims on your pricing topics, for example. Then this precision score will get lower, and that's normal because it just means that it's not 100% precise. But then over time, if you don't need to add any new verbatims manually because maybe the instruction is getting better and is more accurate, then your precision score will get higher again. And the goal is to track all of that, especially if you have a few people working on this page and you have many users on it. It's a good way to track how the platform is doing. And again, the goal is for you to do that at the beginning and maybe for a little bit of time. But over time and after a few months, it's going to get accurate even more. And so you will not need to do as much manual work as you needed at the beginning. Okay, let's move on to the detail of how to use these segments and topics, because it's good to know how to create them, but what can you do with that? That's the question I will answer now. So let's take one example. I will go into the product segment. So as you can see first, before going into it, you have 3 KPIs. You have the average sentiment. Here it's neutral. It just means that you can have negative, positive, and neutral, as you can see here actually. But it means that if you do the average score, it's neutral. Then you have the number of verbatims. So the number of verbatims depend 100% on the topics you added in it. So in that case, it could be the verbatims added on products plus the verbatims added on vitamins. But it could also not be equal to these two, just because you could have verbatims that are attached to both topics. In that case, the verbatim will only be counted one in the KPI that is on the segment level. Because technically it's only once in the segment. It's just in 2 different topics, but it's just one verbatim. So I just wanted to make sure that's clear. And then you have the NPS score. So it's calculated exactly like an NPS, but how do we get that? So we get it from the feedback that are attached to these verbatims that have an NPS. So let me explain and give you an example. Let's say out of the 8,000 verbatims, you have maybe, let's say 4,000 that have that are part of a feedback where there is an NPS. So that's where we will get the NPS. So we will not invent ever anything. It's really a real NPS impact, but it's only based on the feedback linked to these verbatims. The goal to have that is to help you understand how important is this segment on the NPS. So let me explain. Let's say you have a segment where you have a lot of negatives, but the score in PS is quite good. It's not this example because it's not working. It's a bad NPS. But let's say it's an NPS of 20. How you would rate this would be that maybe your checkout experience, if you have a good NPS here, means that you could have unhappy people, but maybe they are unhappy about this specifically, but it doesn't have that much of an impact on the overall satisfaction and on the NPS. On the contrary, if you have a lot of negatives and also a bad NPS, it could mean that this segment does have a big impact on the overall satisfaction. There are many elements to it. It's not the only one, but it still means that it's one of the explanation of your potentially bad NPS. So let's go into one segment. So I will click on product here. And as you can see, it will open this page. So here you have a few things. You will find the KPIs we just saw, but with more details. And here you will see the list of topics. You can choose the sorting of these topics, and you can also have graphs. So at the beginning of the webinar, I explained that you can have and get and track all your topics and segments over time. That's where you will do it. So here by default, as you can see, it's going to show you the average sentiment, but you can change and you can put any KPIs that is suggested in the list. And so by default, it's going to be for all the topics. So you can do a focus on one of them. And as you can see, if we read this, it just means that the product topic is actually quite consistent and going from, and this is a warning, the scale here is evolving depending on your maximum and minimum value. So it could look like there are a lot of up and downs, but if you really look into it, it's actually going from 48 and the maximum is 55, which is not the same as if it was going from 20 to 80, for example. So just be careful with that when you read the graph. And also, as you can see, the vitamin topics was actually something last year, but it's not there anymore. So it just means that, so first of all, it could also means that you had a survey last year about this specific topic and it stopped. It could be one explanation. You just have a source of feedback that was specific to that. So logically, it just stopped when you stopped the survey. That's one explanation. The other one is just to know that maybe there was issues with the vitamins last year, but it's not an issue anymore. And you don't really have people talking about that. So it's a really good way to understand what are your clients talking about and is it still the case? So that's one use of the graph. Then you have the attributes tab, but I will show it to you on the topic level because just as a reminder, we are still on the segment level. What would be interesting here is to generate the AI insight. So again, it's still on the segment level. So it will take into account every verbatims linked to the topics that are in the list of the segments. And you will see it's going to be really interesting. So first you will get a summary, as you can see. And then you will get the main positive aspect and the main negative aspect. That's a really quick and easy way to analyze a lot of verbatims in one click. So, and it's not saved. So by default, you will have it and it's just to help you understand where you need to put your focus on. And then what you can do if you want to kind of save this, but in a way that will help you understand and prioritize your action, will be to create an action plan, either on the segment level. So to do that, you will click on the purple, sorry, forgot in English, button. But you can also generate action plan based on each aspect, which could be really interesting, especially if you have a lot of volume and especially if the negative aspect is quite general. And that leads me to something I will also recommend. By default, when you're using this page, we talked about the filters earlier. By default, it's going to be with all the data you have in the platform. What you want most of the time is to focus on a specific period of time. So let's say you want to focus on this year, which would definitely make sense because that's most of what you will be doing. Then you need to use the global filters. And we will always recommend you to use them because it doesn't really make sense to analyze data from 2023. It's useful when you want to compare maybe what are the big issues this year compared to 2024, but it doesn't make sense to include everything in the action plans you're creating. So when you add it, so let's do it here, time period, and let's take by default this year. So you could actually choose last 12 months, could be the case also, but in my case, I want the current year. Let's see, we have something. So as you can see, everything will adapt to this new filter. So maybe we'll have less things, but also, and that's why I'm showing you that, it's going to get more precise. And that's actually what we want because we don't want global actions. We want to understand where it's coming from, exactly what is concerned, and which people in your company can actually take action. So the filters are helping you with that. So here you could see here, but we will go into that right after. Before that, I want to show you how it's working on a topic now because we are still on segments. So as you can see, the current year is still here and we want to keep it for now. So let's say we still have a lot of things on product. So let's go in the topic. So here we click on 3 dots and go on open detail view. So it's exactly the same use, but you will get different things. So first of all, we are on the topic. So you have less verbatims, logically. So here is going to be even more relevant to use the attributes tab. You already had it before on the segment, but I personally think it makes more sense here because you want to understand what are the people, what is the context of the comments and what are the people who are talking about that. I will give you an example. Let's say you are on a retail use case. I will take the shoe shop again as an example. Let's say you want to see the customer service in each store. So you will have one topic that is customer service. And how do I know where are the issues? And I have people who gave feedback, but what are the feedback attached to? It's in the attributes tab that you will find this information. So by default, you will have the main topics. And I'm sorry because there are noises outside and I hope you're not hearing it. But by default, you will find the main attributes. So the attributes that are coming out the most of the verbatims attached to the topic. So small reminder, here we have almost 4,000 verbatims. And here we will tell you what is coming out of these verbatims. What I want is to understand what are the stores. I maybe don't have the store attribute here, but it could be anything. So I will take country and it's going to work exactly the same way. By choosing country, you will see out of the country attribute, what are the values, so here the countries, that are the most concerned by this product concern. So here, as you can see, Canada is coming out the most, but the other one are quite similar in terms of volumes. So it doesn't really make sense and you cannot really know, like it doesn't change anything in your analysis, but at least you know that every country is actually concerned. So what you can do next, and we will play again with the filters, is to maybe filter on sentiment score. Here, I will take feedback item equals next, and I will put negative. So here I did that because I want to understand where is the negative coming from, because earlier we had a bit of everything. We had neutral, we had positive, but that's not I want to understand. It's good to know that it's positive in which countries, but here I want to take action. So I will try to understand where is the negative. So again, it's quite similar everywhere, but we still see that the UK, for example, is the one where we have the less verbatim. So this is just to show you that you can really navigate with the features to really help you understand what is the issue, where is it, and where is the action needed. So I hope it's clear. You can use it in a lot of ways because it really depends on your use case. It could be if let's say you're importing tickets, for example, from your support team, and you want to analyze the comments and the requests. Then if you have the team attached as an attribute, or maybe the person who answered, and you want to understand maybe where you get negative comments, a bad CSAT, then you can select the attribute that is matching the person who answered. And that's where you will understand that maybe, okay, this person is coming out the most when I have negative comments. So I need to understand why. And then you use the AI Insight to get a summary of what is being said, and then you create the action plan. And that's really where you can, so basically that's the workflow we are um, giving you with Figure, because you can begin with centralizing the data, then you will categorize, then you will track over time. Is it an issue that is still going on now, or was it last year? If it's still now, then you can generate insight, you can check the attributes, and then you can create action plans that will be based on maybe the attributes that you identify that are the issue, and then you can send the action plans to the team. And that's the whole workflow that Figure is giving you and giving you to help you analyze everything. And the end goal, again, is to identify the action and to send it to the team, because that's where the goal is to do something about it. It's just not to know, because knowing is good. But again, the goal is to help the business getting better, to help getting more money, whatever business you have. So I hope it's clear, and you can now use fully all of this page to do all of that. So I will just show you one last thing, because I showed you that you can create an action plan here directly, but you can also create action plans directly from the page. So if I go back to the main page here, we were in text analysis from the beginning. So now we want to see the action plans. So maybe you created it from the topics, and it's fine. You will go directly into it, but know that you can also go there directly. So let me show you. I created one earlier. So I will show you what is the action plans. So I'm sorry, it's euros, actually should be pounds. But here, so I took the topic app, and I think it was a segment. So you have a few topics here. I didn't have a period of time. I didn't have any other filters. So it's quite general, but know that it's going to work exactly the same way if you use many filters. And again, I recommend you to use filters, but it's generating what you're seeing here. So first you have the summary. So it's just a quick sum up of everything that's being said on the verbatims that are used for the action plans. Also, something important to know, the verbatims that we will use here are the one where there's an action that you can take. Just to explain more in details, let's say you have a comment that says, I'm so happy with the service. We will not take it into action here, take it into account, sorry, just because it's good, it's positive, but you cannot do anything about it. So we will mostly use the suggestion of improvement, the unhappy people, anything that is concrete and will help us build the action that you see here. So as you can see, we are suggesting 10 actions. By clicking on it, you will have more details. You will also find the NPS score. So it's a bit different from the text sizes. Here, it's mainly a score that will help you understand the potential NPS impact based on the verbatims that we use. So most of the time when it's bad comments, it's also going to have a bad NPS with that. So it's basically telling you if you're improving this point, then your NPS might improve by 15. Obviously, it's not exact, and that's not the goal. The goal is just to help you prioritize each action. So if you know that this can give you plus 15 on your NPS score, it means that this action is more important and will have more impact on your business than maybe address overheating issues, for example. And it's working the same way with the money. So you can add an average basket. I don't think we say that, I'm sorry, but basically the average value of each client. And on our side and on the platform, we calculate the impact, the financial impact based on this value you put for each action. So again, it's a bit the same idea. It's just to help you understand the financial impact here that each action could have. And the percentage you see here is actually the percentage of verbatim that we used for this action based on all the verbatims used on the action plans that you can see here. Also know that you can accept or reject an action. So if you think, for example, that it's not actionable because you cannot really do anything about it, then there is no point of keeping it into the action plan. So you can remove it. And on the contrary, you can accept it if you think that it makes sense and that you want the teams that you will send these action plans to know that it's one of the main priority and it has one of the biggest impact on the overall satisfaction. And so once you've created the action plans, you can do a few things with it, and I will end up with that. So I will just keep going for 3 minutes and then let you go to lunch. But you can update the action plan over time. So let's say you're generating this one right now, but in 3 months, you want to see how it got, how it is now. You can update it quickly. And what's nice is that you will keep both versions. So the idea with that is to keep the history of everything that's happening so that you can check maybe in 1 year what was the main pain point, of these action plans versus maybe 1 year after. You will actually see that optimized checkout process got down in the list, which means that might have improved, for example. Maybe you have less issues with that. So it's a good thing to keep track of everything again. And then you can add it to a report, and reports will be a session that we might do in another webinar. But know that it's by adding it into a report that you can send it to the team, because you might know it or not, but you can send reports outside the platform to people that are not users. So we talked about the end goal and taking action. That's how you will do it. You add it to reports and then you send it to the team. And I think, guys, that's already a lot of information. And that's it for today, guys. I hope it was clear, and it is the end of the session. Thank you, guys, for the one who participated, and see you. Bye.